Hello and welcome to the Eldritch Hour. My name is Lilith Fury, the Eldritch Queen of Horror. And tonight, we're setting the record straight by acknowledging some of the lesser accepted subgenres of horror. When it comes to this topic, I do not have an opinion. I have facts. To have an opinion would allude to the possibility that I could possibly be wrong. And that would just be silly. As queen, my word is law. I often hear people bemoan about how much they don't like horror. It's tired, it's unoriginal, it's sadistic. And while it is true that some horror does indeed fall into those traps, I implore you, of the following two examples, which do you deem to be more sadistic? Example 1. You have a jock. Cheats on his girlfriend, bullies the nerd. He's sexist, he's racist, he's homophobic. He is all that is wrong with society. And then he meets his fate at the end of a machete. Example number 2. A young couple meet and fall in love. They defy all odds to be together. You root for them. You care for them. You know them on a deeper and more personal level. And just at the peak moment of their happiness, one of them dies. Is it cancer? Is it a heart attack, an aneurysm, a blizzard? Do they get in a car accident? Were they in the wrong place at the wrong time and a carjacker got them? It doesn't matter. They're dead. Now I really want you to think on this. Weigh the pros and cons and complexity of the situation. And it becomes clear. The second example is far more sadistic. And yet, despite its sadism of making you care about them first before taking them away, it is hailed as art. It's a romantic tragedy. So why does horror get the bad rap? Well, it's a tale as old as time. People fear what they do not understand. And a lot of people also fail to understand the deepness and complexity of what exactly constitutes as horror. Horror is more than just slashers. In fact, slashers are just one of the many branches of this beautifully gnarled tree known as horror. There's creature features, there's body horror, horror comedies, family horror, sci-fi horror, etc. It's deep, it's complex, it's rich. There is so much more than just slashers. Take Jurassic Park, for example. Many people see it as action adventure, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of fantasy. But it's a creature feature. It is a classic. A monster, or in this case, a dinosaur, hunts down its prey. The bad guy often gets it first. Hello, Nedry. Followed by those with slightly less discretions, such as Samuel L. Jackson's character. He really should not have smoked that cigarette. The Raptors sure taught him the smoking kills, didn't they? And don't get me started on family-friendly films like Casper and Hocus Pocus. Casper literally starts with an exorcist having their head turned completely around. The father dies, but he comes back, and I'm not even going to get into that. It was completely unfair for poor Casper. Kathy Moriarty's character died. Her ghost came back and then tried to inflict harm on the living. There's possession, there's murder, there's death, there's everything. It is very classic horror, to the point that if I were to describe the basis of that film to anyone, but neglecting to mention that it was Casper, it would be undeniable. Also, let's get into Hocus Pocus. A child is lured from their home by a spell. The sole purpose is so that her soul can be sucked out and life force drained to grant eternal youth to witches. Her brother tries to show up and save the day, but he is too late. So not only does she die, but then her brother is transformed into a cat. Little sprinkling of body horror there. And then, witches are executed. only to be later brought back from the dead with a spell. And don't forget the book, Bound in Human Flesh, a gift from the devil himself. Or Billy, a rotting corpse brought back from the dead, mouth still sewn shut. How could you even question whether or not this is horror? Horror often hides in plain sight. Let's look at a few other examples. The Terminator, a relentless, unkillable antagonist hunting down his prey. Swap out the sci-fi setting with suburbia and you've got Halloween. Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. It has undead pirates, cursed gold, and supernatural revenge. Horror in disguise. Even The Mummy, so many people's by-awakening. I'm sorry, that is definitely horror. Action horror, but still horror. There's reanimated corpses, scarab swarms, curses. It's gothic horror meets action adventure. Horror is everywhere, whether you acknowledge it or not. It's more than gore or jump scares. It's a mirror reflecting our fears, our society, and sometimes even ourselves. Horror terrifies us, makes us unsettled, but comforts us. And sometimes horror is beautiful. So the next time you hear someone say that they don't like horror, ask them, what kind of horror do you not like? Because odds are they're horror fans, but just don't know it yet. I would love to know what your favorite horror film is that others might not consider horror. Let me know in comments below. Until next time, my ghoulish darlings, stay spooky.